Ratchet & Clank 3 Up Your Arsenal is one of the all-time classic PlayStation speedruns. A dedicated community has optimised this game for over 10 years, and have found all manner of movement techniques, glitches, and level skips. But nobody ever expected that one of the game's biggest time saves ever would come from unlocking the Snowman skin. Now, if you're not familiar with Ratchet & Clank speedruns, first of all, welcome. Not sure how you ended up here, but enjoy your stay. But secondly, you should know that the most popular category is not any percent, as usual for most speed games, but instead runners prefer to run New Game Plus, which allows them to use all the upgraded weapons and gadgets from the start of the run. In Up Your Arsenal, this gives them access to the charge boost and the plasma whip, which are required for much of the movement tech in the game. For this reason, most runners avoid running any percent. The any percent route relies on Clank's thruster pack to move through the first 20 minutes of the run. Then, when runners reach the planet Dax, they would pick up the charge boost and buy the whip, and play out the rest of the game as a budget New Game Plus run. The only difference in the second half of the run is that bosses are harder due to your weaker weapons, and you risk dying in one hit due to not buying any armor or shields. But what if there was another category that was like any percent but with a bit more spice? All titanium bolts, or ATB for short. Start the game from a new file, collect all 40 hidden titanium bolts, beat the final boss. ATB is the underrated gem of Ratchet speedruns. It scratches the any percent itch, but is different enough from New Game Plus to stand on its own. Collecting the bolts forces runners to explore areas of planets they wouldn't normally visit, and even go to planets that can be skipped entirely. That said, ATB has always had three issues. Slow to get going, it's really hard, and there's one bolt that just sucks. The slow early game is kind of unavoidable. Same as in any percent, Ratchet only starts with a thruster pack for movement, and has to fight through 5 missions on Mantodea with just a shock blaster. This can be a slow process, and a little painful when resetting for a PB.
But since the game opens up so much after attaining the charge boost, runners consider the slow start a worthwhile price to pay for the run that follows.
The second barrier to ATB is its brutal difficulty. There are plenty of instances of this, but the best example is VR skip. By visiting the Starship Phoenix VR training course earlier than intended, Ratchet can unlock the coordinates to planet Dax, where he can get those sweet charge boosts. The thing is, in New Game Plus, performing VR skip requires the charge boost, so we're a little stuck. Without charge boosts, ATB runners are forced to learn IJs, or infinite jumps. By equipping the Tira guys, then pressing square, triangle, triangle, square, square, Ratchet can refresh his jump in mid-air. The timing on these inputs is very tight. It takes runners weeks to learn IJs without dropping inputs or losing height. And to do VR skip with no charge boosts, you have to perform this IJ 20 times in a row. Luckily, by late 2021, things were looking up for ATB. New techniques were opening up faster and easier strats. One of the most notable of these was camera clips, which is the solid property of the camera to push Ratchet through walls. For example, this bolt on Aquatos used to require a finicky setup with 3 mini turrets to get through the door. Now, Ratchet can just use the camera to squeeze himself through. Camera clips also opened up the option of IJing to a different location in VR training and clipping through the final door, instead of doing IJs all the way to the end. This halves the number of IJs required and allows you to lose some height without failing the trick completely. It was slower, but it made the skip much more accessible to new runners. Then, not long after the discovery of camera clips, VR skip was revolutionized by another game-changing tech, suck cannon boxies. Boxies really deserve a video of their own, so all I'll say here is that VR skip was now easier and faster. ATB was finally becoming more accessible, but unfortunately we still haven't addressed the biggest elephant in the room, and it's a 7-minute long elephant. There are 40 titanium bolts in Up Your Arsenal. 34 are found in hidden locations. With Speedrun strats, runners can reach each of these with no problem. 5 are rewards for collecting 100 tokens in each of the vidcomic levels. This is just a matter of memorization, not much slower than doing the vidcomics normally. However, the final bolt is Nerves of Titanium. As well as the VR training course, the Starship Phoenix features 7 VR arena challenges. These challenges see Ratchet fight waves of robots to earn bolts, sometimes with restrictions, such as only using the wrench or having limited ammo. Beating all the challenges unlocks one more, Nerves of Titanium, which is an endurance mission, 12 waves long, and the reward is a titanium bolt. In a speedrun, these arena challenges are trivialized by the upgraded V5 shot cannon, which allows runners to use a technique called weaving to take out entire waves with a single shot. This means that the entire titanium bowl is simplified to holding circle and spinning in circles for 36 waves, plus 3 more waves in the wrench only challenge. In total, this takes 7 minutes. There are slight optimizations, such as killing yourself at the end of challenges as soon as the mission complete text appears. But ultimately, this is the longest, easiest, and most boring section in the entirety of ATB.
Listen, the only thing I truly get mad at in regards to anime at this moment, well, there's 2 things. One, when people say...
It almost goes without saying that finding a way to skip Nerves of Titanium had been a dream of ATB runners ever since the creation of the category. But for a long time, this just seemed straight up impossible. Looking into the game's code did show that the bolt is always located in the VR arena. But when you land on the Phoenix, a level script hides the bolt until a Nerves of Titanium is completed. It was theorized that if there was some way to trick the game into ignoring this script, then Ratchet could just visit the arena and pick up the bolt, without doing any of the challenges. But even with all the known glitches in the game, something like this had never been found. To mess with the game's code, things were going to have to get weird. It's April 2022. Prominent Ratchet and Clank 2 runner, Mantodea, shared a clip of a strange interaction in Ratchet 3 that very few runners were aware of.
Alright, yo, Manto here. I'm going to show you how to do this glitch real quick. It's fucking insane. So right now, on PSTV, you can go to Options, and you can go to Load. And then when it's loading, you just press triangle twice. And then you'll notice that I've already killed the boss, right? So now it's playing the cutscene. And so I want to hit Load, and then I want to hit Yes. And then I'm going to wait a while. You can hear that the cutscene's playing. Anyway, so I'm going to wait until I'm loading the other file to where the cutscene plays, right? This is a lengthy cutscene, so we're gonna be here for a minute or two. Completely as fucked. I only got like a 2-second look at it, but when I saw it, I was kind of fucking freaking out, so I busted out the capture card real quick. Okay, I'm gonna load now. And so now I loaded during a loading screen, and so it's gonna take a little bit longer now. And you'll notice I'm gonna land on the Starship Phoenix, but I'm clearly not at the Starship Phoenix. I'm at fucking... Look, that's the Phoenix down there. I am on Florana's, like, area, and that's the Phoenix down there. So I am completely fucking spawning in 2 different levels at the same time. I don't have any way to do anything with this yet, but I've got the Florana music on Starship Phoenix.
This bizarre interaction, which was dubbed level stacking, initially triggered excitement in the community. Many believed it could be the key to skipping longer planets in New Game Plus, such as Mantodea and Holostar Studios. But quickly, a couple of issues were found. Firstly, it wasn't really clear what the stack level even was. It was clearly a combination of 2 planets, but what content was actually being loaded from each one? Runners quickly noticed that mission triggers didn't seem to be active where they normally should, which meant it was unlikely that it would be possible to skip an entire level. The other issue is that the trick could not be performed on PS3, which is the fastest and most accessible version of the game. Manto was playing on a PSTV, which is essentially a PS Vita that can be played on a television instead of being handheld. But unlike on the Vita, when opening the load menu in PS3, all control over the game is paused, meaning it's impossible to reach the ship transition screen while the load menu is open. Nobody was interested in switching from PS3 to Vita, and very few even owned a Vita for testing purposes, so the enthusiasm in exploring level stacking died down. That said, it was proven that level stacking technically functioned on PS3. By using the popular practice tool Rackman, you can quickly load 2 levels and force a level stack. This was usually done by accident, with unexpected results.
Okay, how good is my... Oh no! Yo, what is this shit?
Months passed with no discoveries. Until one day, where runner Armin was playing around with funny level stack interactions using Rackman.
I'm playing the Ratchet 3 beta right now with Dudek, so Dudek, what the Oh my god, guys.
Bro, the buildings are spinning, oh my god, guys.
What is going on there? What's this ship doing there? What the fuck?
This video prompted Strat hunter joaof to also explore the stack. Over the previous months, Zhao had been exploring level stacks on PS Vita emulator and had become the leading community expert on the trick, including finding more methods to set up stacks. On this stack, which Armin had created using Metropolis and the Starship Phoenix, Zhao spotted a titanium bolt near the edge of the map. It was not in any of the usual locations for a titanium bolt on Metropolis. After collecting the bolt, he noticed that it increased his bolt count on the Starship Phoenix, not on Metropolis. Further testing confirmed his theory that this bolt was nerves of titanium. This was a big deal, and it helped to further the understanding behind level stacking. Let me explain how it works. When Ratchet flies off in his ship, the game starts by loading the level geometry and textures from the planet he's flying to. We'll call this Planet A. Then the planet load is interrupted by loading another file on Planet B. Most of the data comes from Planet B, such as Ratchet's spawn location and the location of what the game refers to as mobies. Things like crates, enemies, and collectibles. This is also where the music comes from and the planet ID, the planet that the game thinks you're on. The fun part is the data that seems to live halfway between planets A and B, those being sound effects and level scripts. These two lose their references to the correct planet, which can have varying consequences. Sometimes this will just cause the game to crash. Other times, scripts that run at the start of the level simply don't run at all. If you've been paying attention, you might be able to see where this goes next. On the 10th of November, joaof posted a video titled, "This saves 6 minutes in Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal, all titanium bolts." Using the Vita level stacking method, he created a stack with Iridia as Planet A and the Starship Phoenix as Planet B. And this was the result. By using level stacking, Zhao was able to ignore the nerves of titanium level script and grab the titanium bolt in under 2 minutes. As he said in the video title, this equaled a time save around 6 minutes. By the way, there's a reason joaof dubbed music over his clip. Remember how I said level stacking messes with the sound effects? Yeah, this is what the stack level actually sounds like. Understandably, the community freaked out at this discovery, but maybe surprisingly, nobody jumped to start using it in runs. This skip was still Vita exclusive, and quite simply, nobody wanted to play on the Vita. Once again, level stacking faded into obscurity, but not for long. During this time, UYA had seen the rise of a new top-level runner. On the 25th of September, King DDD had surprised the community by coming out of nowhere to claim the 100% world record. By utilising a new route that no other runner had run at a top level, DDD improved the record multiple times, eventually saving 20 minutes over the old record and cementing himself as a new force in UYA speedrunning. At the time, DDD was a bit of a mystery. He streamed his runs on Twitch, but didn't interact much with the community. That changed on the 16th of November, less than a week after joaof had shared his nerve skip video. DDD posted its first ever message in the Ratchet & Clank speedrunning Discord. Is this known? PS3 level stacking. DDD found that when unlocking a PlayStation 3 trophy, there are a few seconds where the game isn't able to save or load. And if you try to load, the load file menu won't appear until you receive the trophy. The delay for the menu appearing isn't long, but allows just enough time to get into the ship and fly away. It was just enough time to set up a level stack. Nerve skip on PS3 was real, and the community started looking for the best trophy to trigger the level stack. As a proof of concept, DDD had used the trophy "These Things Keep Coming," received for gaining 1 million bolts. He used cheats to give himself the bolts while standing next to Ratchet's ship. But creating a route where the runner earned 1 million bolts would be slow, and a route that earned exactly 1 million the moment you returned to your ship was effectively impossible. The first proposal was to use the trophy "It Was a Very Good Year," which is earned for destroying the blimp on Metropolis. This was convenient, as it was possible to use the flux rifle to snipe the blimp while standing next to Ratchet's ship, allowing you to fly away before the trophy pop-up appeared. Scottobozo was the first runner to implement nerve skip at a top level. Even before the skip had been found, Scott had been grinding ATB, and thanks to new techniques, such as the previously mentioned camera clips, he had already saved 3 minutes over the previous world record of 1:17:51, which was set way back in July 2020 by his M92. But now, with better execution and the power of nerve skip, he was able to bring the record down to a staggering 1:05:40. DDD was also running ATB at the same time, and he got thinking about ways to improve the route. See, while destroying the blimp was an easy way to earn a PS3 trophy, it was a little slow. Nerve skip required a stack with Iridia and the Starship Phoenix, but the blimp trophy was earned on Metropolis. This meant, to set up the skip, you had to play until near the end of the game where you unlock Iridia, then create a save on the Phoenix before you backtrack to Metropolis to snipe the blimp. DDD knew that if he was able to obtain a trophy on the Phoenix, he would simplify the setup and save about 20 seconds. And he found it. The new trophy was Keep the Temperature Low, which is earned by purchasing the Snowman skin. Skins are cosmetics for Ratchet that can be purchased with titanium bolts, so naturally they are easy to obtain during an all titanium bolts run. Skins can be bought at any time on any planet, meaning you can always unlock the trophy when you are next to Ratchet's ship. Snowman Trophy had been Runner's original idea, but since equipping skins triggers an autosave, and the game ignores load button presses while it is autosaving, the load menu won't appear when the trophy pops up. But DDD found that if you triggered an autosave by, for example, equipping a different skin, then you bought the Snowman skin immediately, and waited until after the autosave had finished before pressing load, the Snowman trophy pop-up would be delayed like it is with other trophies. This allowed the Snowman to be used for level stacking. In total, DDD's new nerve skip method with the Snowman would save 6 minutes, just the same as joaof's method on the Vita. To recap, let me give a full breakdown of how nerve skip is executed. Before starting the run, create a new PS3 profile so you have no trophies unlocked. Play the run up to the end of VidComic 5. At this point, you will be on the Starship Phoenix and have the coordinates to Iridia unlocked. Now, while standing next to the ship, equip a skin that isn't the Snowman to trigger an autosave. Then buy the Snowman skin. When the autosave is finished, try to load a file and quickly enter the ship and fly to Iridia. Assuming you did the previous steps correctly, the load menu will open while Ratchet is flying in his ship. Before you arrive on Iridia, load the autosave you just made on the Phoenix. This will create a level stack with Iridia as Planet A and Starship Phoenix as Planet B, meaning that while it might look like we are on Iridia, the game thinks we are on the Phoenix. The Nerves of Titanium Bolt is loaded without checking if we completed its mission. After arriving on the stacked planet, Ratchet spawns with no floor beneath it. We have to do a tricky bit of movement to get to solid ground. First, let Ratchet fall to his death. On the frame Ratchet respawns, it is possible to jump in mid-air. Combine this with a well-spaced double jump and a hyperstrike, and you can land on the ship. From here, it's possible to cross the large gap using a combination of a whip jump and Tyrigui's movement. Once you have reached the main area of Iridia, it's smooth sailing. Just charge across a couple of bridges to the bolt, all while Ratchet screams his heart out. After grabbing the bolt, perform another death jump to reach the ship again, and fly away. One of my favourite quirks about this trick is how we actually end up flying to Iridia twice in a row, since, by stacking, we have changed our planet ID to be back on the Phoenix again. Once we have collected the Nerves Bolt, flying to Iridia a second time will remove the stack and allow us to play Iridia normally. With the new Snowman method, you might have expected the ATB world record to drop even lower, but it didn't. Scott knew that his 1:05:40 was a really good run, and still pretty untouchable even with a new 20-second time save. So instead, he turned his attention to implementing nerve skip in 100% and took the record from DDD. DDD himself was implementing nerve skip in all collectibles, which is another category that requires collecting titanium bolts, and he also got a record. And while records are cool, I think something that often gets overlooked by the wider speedrunning audience is the effect a new trick can have on the community. And to be honest, nerve skip is the perfect trick. It saves a bunch of time, it has engaging execution, and it's easy enough that most runners can learn it without too much difficulty. The only downside is that it requires creating a new PlayStation profile each time you want to perform the trick. And that isn't as painful as it sounds. As the skip happens in the last 15 minutes of the run, in general, runners would only have to make a new profile once or twice per session of PB attempts. This positive effect can be seen in community activity. As mentioned previously, on the UYA leaderboards, there are 3 categories that must collect the Nerves of Titanium Bolt. Since the discovery of Nerve Skip, all 3 categories have gained at least 50% more runners, while the most popular category, New Game Plus No Quit Exploit, grew 20% in the same time frame. All collectibles and 100% actually benefited even more from level stacking than ATB did, thanks to another trick known as weapon smuggling, which was found by Roboo, another prolific strat hunter. If you visit the weapon vendor on the Phoenix, it will give you the option of testing any weapon that you don't own inside the VR arena. The weapon is then returned to the vendor when you leave. Roboo found that if you make a save during this weapon test, and use that file as part of a level stack, you will smuggle the weapon to another planet, effectively letting you buy it for free. In all collectibles, this allows us to get the Quack Array, saving the need to grind for 200,000 bolts. And in 100%, this allows us to get the Rhino, saving 3 million bolts. This obviously saves time and makes the run more enjoyable, since the bolt grind on Metropolis is even more repetitive than the VR arena missions. The longer categories in UYA have entered something of a renaissance. Runs faster, more exciting, and more accessible than ever before. And at the centre of this is Nerve Skip and the surprising power of the Snowman. And that's where this video was supposed to end. But while I was writing this script, a new variation of level stacking was found. And honestly, it changed my entire narrative to the point that I didn't know what to do with this video. In fact, this video idea has been on pause for well over a year. See, I wanted to tell the story of how the Snowman skin saved ATB, which is a relatively niche category. But now, the Snowman is the king of UYA. This new strat was theorized by joaof and DDD, and setups were found by Roboo. It's a variation on level stacking known as level smashing, and it's way more game-breaking. There are 2 ways to perform a smash. On planets that don't autosave when you arrive, you can use the same method as stacking, but delay the planet B load until the very last moment. On other planets, you can load a file while the game thinks Ratchet is dead. With level smashing, we get something similar to a level stack, but with a different mix of planet information. Now most of the data comes from planet A, but we still keep the planet ID from planet B, and the level flags, which weren't really affected by level stacking, are copied from planet B to planet A. There's a lot more potential for big skips, and I think the easiest way to explain why is using a trick known as sugar-free early laser defense facility. On Mantodea, make your way to the Galactic Ranger's ship, but then, instead of completing the 5 missions outside the palace, save the game and return to Ratchet's ship. On Dax, perform a level smash. This will copy the level flag that was ticked when you reached the Ranger ship on Mantodea to the equivalent level flag on Dax. In this case, the equivalent flag says you have defeated the warship, meaning that level smashing skips travelling to and fighting the boss. But that's not all. According to the game, our planet ID is now Arcadia. We have all the checkpoint locations loaded from Dax. This means that when we cross the river and land at this checkpoint, it will tick a level flag on Arcadia. This particular flag says that we have beaten all 5 missions outside the palace, meaning that when we return to Arcadia for real, we can access the laser defense facility, the final section of the planet. This strat saves about 4 minutes overplaying Arcadia as intended, and at the time was much easier than any other method of reaching the laser defense facility early, which was obviously a big deal for everyone that wasn't a top level runner. But this is just one trick. Level smashing is capable of much more. Smashing a completed Abani Gemini onto Blackwater City completes the level flags for missions 1 and 2. This skips you to the 3rd and final mission and skips the long freefall section, saving a minute and a half. Smashing Holostar Studios onto the Starship Phoenix allows us to technically fly to Holostar twice in a row. The first time you visit Holostar, you are forced to play a long Clank section, but by flying there twice via smashing, you can skip straight to Ratchet's section, saving 10 seconds. And smashing Phoenix Rescue onto Command Center spawns a dropship that immediately takes you to the next level, saving... Oh wait, yeah, this one doesn't even save time.
It turns out setting up the level smash is actually slower than the current strats on Command Center. But I do think completing the level like this is insane and hilarious. Also, smashing allows for an easier version of nerve skip. When you die on a smash, more of Planet B is able to load, and the level changes from a smash into a stack. But Ratchet's respawn location doesn't change. This means that we can create an Iridium and Phoenix stack, but with Ratchet spawning high in the air. This avoids the need to do the tricky movement between the ship and the mainland. So, level smashing has huge potential, and unlike stacking, it can be relevant in every category. But remember that every single smash or stack requires getting a PS3 trophy. In fact, level smashing is so broken that runners have run out of viable trophies to set up the trick, forcing important decisions to be made in routing. In ATB, blimp sniping is back on the menu. In New Game Plus, runners are now opting to start without the V4 Rhino, which is normally the best weapon against bosses. But this is so they can buy the V1 Rhino during the run and obtain another trophy. In any percent, runners are taking detours to collect 4 titanium bolts. Why? To buy the Snowman, of course. While level stacking was pretty universally accepted as a healthy strat for UYA, reaction to level smashing has been a lot more mixed. Obviously, a bunch of new time save is exciting, and like nerve skip, the level smashers usually skip the slow, tedious sections of the run. However, some runners dislike how often they need to reset their PS3 trophies between runs. Unlike nerve skip, which is performed 45 minutes into the run, some new level smashes occur much earlier in the room. Consider the situation. You're doing runs of New Game Plus No Quit Exploit, the most popular category. You're on a good run, and when you reach Blackwater, you use the Rhino trophy to level smash and skip 2 missions. But then, the run dies on Annihilation Nation. Now, after maybe less than 10 minutes of playtime, you need to set up a new profile with no trophies unlocked so you can perform the Blackwater level smash again. But wait, you're running New Game Plus, so you also need to copy across your save file with all the weapons unlocked. But wait, PS3 saves are locked on a per profile basis, so you need to copy your save to your PC and decrypt it so it'll work on your new profile. Then, copy your save back to your PS3 and great, you're ready to do another run. Of course, in reality, this is way too time consuming. Anyone who's serious about running New Game Plus No QE has modded PS3 with a program that can reset their trophies without creating a new profile. But for some purists, or those who are less invested in the game, installing an additional program just so you can compete in a speedrun was a turn-off. And now the barrier of entry to new players is higher too. Either you spend the time learning missions that are completely irrelevant at high levels of play, or you have to commit to modding your PS3 before you start running. For the sake of fairness, I should point out that nearly everyone in the community mods their PS3, so they can use Rackman, the practice tool I mentioned earlier. With all that said, the majority of runners have adopted level smashing, and on the 14th of October 2024, Scottobozo used them to beat New Game Plus No Quit Exploit in under 20 minutes, a time that was seriously unthinkable only a couple of years ago. An ATB? It's now under 1 hour. Opinions on level smashing are very divided. Some runners love them because not only are they fast, they tend to skip the longest and most tedious sections of the run, much like level stacking does. But others, particularly those who have been in the community for longer and are maybe less comfortable with radical changes, feel it has spoiled the game. UYA has seen a decline in popularity in recent times. A game that was once the forefront of Ratchet & Clank speedruns has been relegated to the sidelines. Was level smashing to blame? Was it other new strats? Are the other games just more interesting now? The future of this game is uncertain, and I honestly don't know where it goes next. What I do know is that people will still play it, and people will still find new strats, and no matter what category you run, all titanium bolts or New Game Plus, you will be playing as the Snowman. Thanks for watching the video. It was a lot of fun to make, and it's a story I've wanted to tell. And it's been a lot more work to make than I was expecting, but I guess that's how these things go. I've had a lot of free time recently, and I wanted to use it for something. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. This is normally the part of the video where the YouTuber says like and subscribe and all of that, and you can do that if you want, but the odds that I make another video like this are pretty low. It's kind of like a weird set of circumstances where I just wanted to try making a video like this. I don't think it's going to happen again. Maybe if this does super well, then maybe, but honestly, I'm not planning on making any more. This was a story I cared about. I had the drive to do it, I had the time to do it. So yeah, don't expect another one anytime soon. But stick around on the channel if you like are actually interested in Ratchet and Clank. Mostly this channel is like tutorials on how to play UYA. So if you're interested, check out some of the tutorials. I've got some beginner guides. They're a little bit outdated now, but they'll get you started for sure. My main goal for this video is to be the number one channel on this video, number one video on this channel. Currently, the most popular video on this channel is actually a demo of the very first version of Nerve Skip. It was a video called, I think, some stupid title like Nerve Skip on the PS Triple or something like that, and it got 7,000 views for no reason. I've put a lot more effort into a lot of my tutorials, but they get like a few hundred views. So if we can beat the, I think 7,500 views that'd make my day. That's all I can really ask for. Thanks to everyone in the Ratchet community for footage that I've used, but also anyone in the Discord that I've asked questions about, because turns out level smashing, level stacking is like really technical, and I thought I knew it, and then once you kind of get into it, it's like, oh god, this stuff's really complicated. So yeah, I mean, a lot of work, a lot of rewrites of the script, lots of footage that I didn't even think that I'd need to get, but I guess that's the nature of YouTube, really. Yeah, not much else to say. Glad you enjoyed the video, or hope you enjoyed the video, and see you around.